So, Kerry, thank you for coming today. Why does it matter that children can walk and cycle to school?
Well, I think it's important that children just get out in the open air as much as possible and get as much exercise as possible. We know that there's a crisis of obesity, childhood obesity, but it's just good for kids to do that rather than be driven to school by their parents. We also know that the traffic in Bristol is pretty horrendous, even at the best of times. So the more cars that we can get off the road and the more parents we can encourage to walk or to cycle with their kids to school, the better.
Great. What do you think are some of the reasons why people don't walk or cycle to school?
Well, I think certainly with cycling, a lot of people are very nervous about cycling on Bristol roads. There's been quite an effort to introduce more cycle paths and so on, but the traffic is so heavy. You can't always trust car drivers to be aware of cyclists. You can't always trust other cyclists to be aware of kids cycling along. So I think people are nervous about that, and that's why some of the cycle training programmes are so important, just to give people that confidence to go out there. I also think the more dedicated cycle paths we can have, so where it's away from the traffic, that's going to be very encouraging for people who are sort of tempted but don't quite want to get on their bikes yet. And with walking, I think, sometimes it's about routes, and one of the things we'll be looking at today is making sure that there's easy routes through the woods rather than sort of traipsing through the mud, which is obviously off-putting for some people. But I think sometimes it's just habit that people get in their cars, people lead quite busy lives and are rushing around. And the more that can be done to actually encourage parents to think of it as an alternative, even if it takes a little bit longer than getting in their car, and probably doesn't take that much longer because traffic is so slow. It's just trying to instill in people the idea, I think, that it's worth exploring walking or cycling rather than getting in the car.
And what do you think is needed to change that?
Well, I think, there's some schools I've visited have awards for pupils when I think there's one school I went to had a Golden Boot Award for the class where the most pupils walked to school each day, which I thought was a little bit unfair in case, if you had one or two pupils that were coming from quite far away that were holding the class back because there was no way they could walk 5 miles to school. But I think, recognition within the schools that it's something to be encouraged, the teachers talking to parents about it, and actually facilitating it through things like better cycle routes, better walking routes as well, and perhaps sort of bit of the stick as well as the carrot by making it more difficult to park around schools. A lot of local residents dread that time of day when the parents come to drop off their kids or to pick up their kids, driveways being blocked, things like that. So it's in the interest of the other people in the neighbourhood as well as the parents to encourage them to walk more instead.
Great. Thank you very much.